That's what I was gonna say. Cool.
I mean, I assume it's copyright free. It's not copyright free playlist. I guess it could not. It could be.
Well, I don't know.
Whatever. All right, cool. So we're streaming again, and let me send you that link.
Yo, what is up, guys? We are streaming here on YouTube Live. What are we doing here, Andrew? We're building some NFTs.
Hey, yep, we're doing it. And I'm just getting my dev set up, rolling. Let me pull up. Do you have our to-do list for today that I could pull up? Let me see.
All right, I'm just listening to the stream. Sounds great.
Yeah, how's the audio?
Close that out. Actually,
just calibrating
honestly,
against our own voices.
I like my voice.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to listen to it and see how you feel about yours.
Do you hear the music though? Actually, the song just ended.
I hear little thumps.
I'll give you a sec.
Turn it up a little.
The song just ended, so let me.
I definitely heard it when I turned it on before, but it was kind of quiet.
How about now?
I'm gonna have to wait 30 seconds.
Oh, fuck. Hopefully it should be more like 15 with the low latency mode. Yeah, it is at full. Can't make it any louder. Well, I guess I could just make the music louder. Yeah. Some fly lo-fi beats.
I can hear some music now.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Because yeah, on my end, it's like almost as loud as your voice. All right, it's fine for it to be a little quiet. All right, hell yeah. So let me pull up your sketch if that's cool. We're gonna. It's like alien hieroglyphics, you know. All right, here we go. Pretty much no one. Yeah. So we got hard hat, but yeah, I think our goals for this, there's some of this that I don't know, some of this that I do know. And I think our goal for it really is to just run through, all the pieces, which, we could dive into in a heavy way or in a light way, but mostly just in a functional way so that this kind of, video is a reference point for ourselves and for anyone else who wants to make a solid NFT project that supports minting, Web3, is on Etherscan, all the above. Right. Cool. Hmm. Yeah, that sounds right to me. Um, I think we're gonna, we might identify some hidden steps, and uh, hopefully we'll enumerate it all. I might, as we go through it, I'm trying to think of like what the best way of keeping track of everything. I might just use Roam and just kind of create, sort of a rolling to-do list with bullet points and ideally timestamps. Um, but we'll see what happens there. So we're calling this project Neapolitan. The reference there is we'll be making a Twitter banner that looks kind of like Neapolitan ice cream. And did I spell that wrong? Paul, yep, totally did. What's wrong? Yeah, I definitely did. I did. I copy pasted it. But here's the reference point. Um, we're gonna, make some Twitter banners, 500 by 1500 pixels, um, that kind of look like, uh, maybe some will look like this, maybe, and but better. It's probably a better example image. But anyway, it's just gonna be those three colors, and it's gonna be soothing. So that's Neapolitan, and goal speed run the creation of a collectibles NFT project. Okay, so first step is create a GitHub repo, and that's what we're doing right now. So let me head back to that. Where were we? Um, yeah, that's a good point. I'm following this because the like nowadays we use main instead of master, and so it just, yeah, I'm just following kind of the guide here. Um, now, yeah, GitHub seems to be pushing it, so I'm rolling with it. All right, actually, I'm gonna turn on my hand heater because it's a little cold today here in Northern California. Go figure. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I should I'll send you a photo of mine. I think I've figured out the path. All right, so here we go. We got our GitHub repo. We could check that off. Um, and now we are on to the next step, which is setting up hard hat in this repo. Correct? Actually, better yet. Okay. I'll be doing a mix. I usually do command line stuff in terminal separately, and I'll write code in VS Code. So can I install Hardhat at the root directory, or oh, are you thinking in terms of like the whole like Web3 monorepo style? Yeah, yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Um, yeah. Yep. Okay. God damn it. Fun fact, you have to use a different can't use the term hard hat. We'll just call it yeah, yeah, true, true. Yeah, npm inits uh automatically to hard hat package. Okay. Nice. Well, that's installing. I'm gonna go pour myself a nice cup of tea, warm my hands up even more. And I'm still on audio, so we could keep talking through. So after this installs, what are we doing next? Okay. hmm I think, we could write a few tests. I don't know if there's sort of, with Rebel Punks, we did a tremendous amount of testing. You wrote probably several dozen test cases, if not more. And I think with this, like, is it worth kind of writing tests for like the transfer function and things like that? What do you think on that topic? Right, right. Cool. Yeah, I mean that seems like a good one. Yeah, any kind of like universe. I think what we're aiming for with this one is just kind of like the universal sort of speed run. So, only the kind of the core tests, but definitely if there are what could be considered core tests, adding those. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Hmm. Cool. All right, so I'm back. Let's go on to our next step here. Um, cool. Uh, and this is within hard hat. Test or tests, plural. Okay. Cool. Okay. Cool. All right. Like let me commit this. Okay. So we could go to Open Zeppelin. I wonder if they probably have not added the ERC 2981 royalty standard yet, if I had to guess. Right. Okay. Right. That's a nice hook. It was a nice hook that you could kind of get a function called before any token transfer. Right. 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 Oh, the wicked craniums. So here is the full Wicked Craniums contract, although this certainly has, you know, um, like their actual contract is just this bit. Um, and then right, yeah, yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I think in general, it's like if you have a very nice kind of like import structure where it's like you're importing specific functions like you'd see in TypeScript, like it could be fine with separate files. If everything is just kind of like dropped into the same namespace anyway, um, I'd probably want my file structure to match that. And so I do like kind of this, even if it's a lot to scroll, it's like at least it's really hard to miss anything. You could command F and just find, any kind of declaration of a variable. So I think I prefer this as well. Right, right. Yeah, I think that's probably a reasonable place to start. Cool. All right, let's do that. Oh, yeah, also importantly, here we go. It is MIT licensed, so there are some contracts that uh, are on either scan but are not MIT licensed, and so you could actually find yourself in a bit of trouble uh, if you go to copy them. Um, I've seen different things, but it's definitely the sort of thing where even I've asked, the owner of the contract. Actually, let me open this up in VS Code. But I've asked the owner of the contract, hey, like, could I use this as some kind of inspiration? And he said, actually, please don't. It's not open source. Um, so that's sort of the my summary of it. It is kind of weird. But I think, people like, why are we talking about all this like contract sort of stuff and like, how it's showed? Well, one of the things that people do as they're trying to understand your project is, they might just come in and take a look at it. And if you have a closed source contract, um, that's going to make people, you know, more skeptical that you've done a high quality project because code is law on Ethereum, and if you can't see the code, you don't really know what's going on at all. You're kind of just relying on the word of the person who created the project, and that's just not the way the ecosystem likes to operate. So I'm not sure if there have been any major projects that hide their source code in recent times. Um, so that's why it is important. But it is kind of interesting to try and, I guess, both license it in a restrictive way, but also kind of put it out there. Um, my, yeah, right, right, absolutely. Um, yeah, it can be pretty obvious. Cool. So I've made this Neapolitan dot Solidity, which is just copy pasted from the Wicked Craniums contract. Um, Cleaning it up a little bit. My VS Code Vim has stopped working. So just gonna see what's going on there. Yeah, I think it's philosophical, like I think with this project, like we're clearly, we're live streaming this for the good of the people, and um so like we should definitely make it MIT because we want people to, come on by and copy it. I could see, having another project like what you described where it's you know, um something uh, very sort of, there is, you've spent like a whole year writing this smart contract and like it really is part of your core sort of competitive differentiation. Um, like actually, I want to say that, you know, I don't think we want to spend too much time on this, but I do think the default OpenSea contract, they might not have open sourced that. It may, in fact, be closed source. I don't know if this is the right one. Um, yeah, well, I remember looking at this and there were some comments. Oh, here you go. See, this is the shared storefront contract, and so this is where like if you just go onto OpenSea and you're like, hey, like I'm just like uploading a photo of my dog, like this is the contract that your NFT will be added to, but it is not verified and published. So they kind of kept this one close to the chest, and we can sort of try and decompile the bytecode to kind of sort of see what's going on. Right. Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to do this. I think I'm just curious if at the top, actually, it probably wouldn't even show. Um, yeah, it looks like this contract, there's some notes. Um, let's make the world open source. That's ironic. All right. Well, this is the open. Sure. Right, right. We have talked about it. I do think it's a little like we could wind up spending another half hour just like playing around with that. So why don't we save that for like a future video and we've sort of drifted already. And we're trying to do this as fast as possible. So what do you say in the spirit of the speed run? Can we just get back to it? Yeah, that's fair. And I appreciate that. Right. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, let me look at that message you just sent. Right. Sorry, I was typing. So start for what goal? Oh, for actually seeing these values. Um, yep. Read. Right. Mm-hmm. Cool. So I guess we have a decision here, which is like, this is a interesting. All right, so boom, we got our first warning message, first problem. So this is so I have a certain version of the compiler, and it's so I need to actually swap my compiler version here uh, to probably 7 was probably reasonable. Because yeah, look, great. Hmm. Right. Yeah. It's it. Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting to also note that in Open Zeppelin they do in fact use they use Solidity 8 or point 0.8 um, and it like of course you do in general want to be kind of on the latest version, but sometimes like some great contracts have been written for older Solidity versions, so it can be for sure a bit of a trade-off here, something to keep in mind. But I think right, 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 agreed. Oh, I was just kind of curious what additional kind of features the Open Zeppelin has enabled. Um, so yeah, pretty cool. Some preset mentor pauser, whatever. We could reference that another time. For the purposes of this, I think we are just trying to speed run it, and we should move quite quickly. So let's go ahead. Yep. Mm-hmm. Little house cleaning. Mm-hmm. 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 All right, we are skipping over. So this is the interface for 721. So most NFTs are built. What's up? Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, yeah, you gotta switch over. All good, all good. So review contracts and swap to Neop. We're gonna learn how to spell Neapolitan by the end of this stream. Neapolitan. It's a region in Italy, or it refers to a region in Italy. So that should inform our phonetics. Um, yeah, I think I was just saying how, for this is kind of intro knowledge, but 721 is sort of the gold standard for NFT smart contracts, just like ERC20 is the gold standard for coins. And there's also ERC 1155, which has some more uses in like a games context and is maybe a little bit worse for a collectibles context. Um, but uh, yeah, what you should definitely expect to see either ERC 721 or 1155 on just about any NFT project that you look at. And if not, the authors of the contract better explain a good reason for it. Because yeah, go ahead. Yeah. No, 1155, but close enough. Yep. Yeah, although it will take a good amount of Solidity context. Um, but I think yeah, it is a useful exercise. Um, because it is, one of the things that people think about when they're creating a project. Do I do 721 or do I do 1155? Um, when in doubt, I think we could both agree that 721 is a safer choice. Yeah, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, right. So this is an external library that we're bringing in, that is sort of protecting against some of the minefield, which is Solidity. This is kind of our deck above that minefield that lets us comfortably do different math operations without worrying about overflows. Um, and yeah, yeah, go ahead. Hmm. Right. Right. And the beautiful thing is, these functions protect not only the integrity of your smart contract, but also for people who are using the smart contract, if they try and do a transaction that would create this sort of an issue, it'll fail and spare them the gas, which is very nice. Yep. Sure. Let's. You want to look at the address library or another one of the ERCs? Sure. Yep. Right. Right. And I think, one last detail for those who want clarity, the 256 here is in reference to bits, not bytes. Yes. Uh, oh, a bit is, I believe, a 0 or a 1. It, you know, that's it's a binary form of data storage. All right, shall we keep rolling forward, or something more you want to say here? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think these are just helper methods around understanding what an address is, and like whether you could call it, some handling around that separates, like, are you sending something to just a wallet, or is it a contract? Hmm. Right. And to be clear, like, a lot of this we will not be using in the contract. Actually, the majority of it. So this is kind of just like the standard boilerplate, and we're just kind of rolling through it just to give confidence and explain broadly what's happening. But you know, you should know that you don't need to sort of know what every single function does. Just that you kind of have these tools in your toolkit if you need them. So right. So here is the ERC 721 like core contract, and it imports a lot of the other things that that we saw in terms of the interfaces for itself, as well as this contract, which defines what contracts can be imported. So I think this is kind of where it does start to be a little bit more important to roll through things. I don't know. What do you think, Caleb? Should we kind of we can sort of just skip over it in theory, because we'll, as we sort of implement, like the like our final bit here at the bottom, like, we will need to talk about it. What do you think? Yeah, that's fair. Right. It's pretty remarkable, actually, that this is how little you have to implement at the end. Um, because yeah, all of the transfer functions, all that seems to be yeah. Um, okay. So let's do this as quickly as you feel comfortable with. Um, so I'll let you lead, and I'll ask questions if anything comes up. I'm just keeping kind of some sort of visual stimulation rolling. NEA probably. Hmm. 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 Yep. And this actually, this function here, there's a lot of drama around this. You see Beanie talk about this a lot on Twitter, where you know if this isn't set sort of immediately, then there's kind of these questions of like, well, you know, um, could a project owner just like rug pull? And there have been some projects which kind of especially expose this fact by just constantly changing the base URI after minting, so that suddenly your NFT, which was once a rock, is now a tree and is then a copy of another project, and so on and so forth. And so we'll also find places where you could lock that base URI. So once things are all set up, then it's locked and no one could ever change it again. Sure. Right. Right. And there's also the aspect of during minting, if people can figure out your what token they'll be getting, and if they can look it up immediately, they may sort of start the minting process, look it up, see if it's a rare one. If not, cancel it. If it is, then mint it. And this is kind of the known as like the Meebits hack. Um, and Right. Yeah, right. The best defense is actually just minting out in 5 minutes, and then yeah, yep. Cool. And we'll also be doing a pre-mint with this run through because it is sort of the simpler, faster way of doing it. Minting like on chain is definitely a flex and is pretty cool in its own way. But it's just, it's just more pieces to get right. And actually, in this case, it's the more uncommon option. So maybe something for a future speed run. Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah, sorry, my NeoVim is having too much fun. Here we go. Hmm. Right. Thanks, Open Zeppelin. Hmm. Yeah, right, right. It kind of, right, you could sort of set like a timer by just relying on the fact that, the Ethereum network will continue to send new blocks. Um, So that's a cool little trick if you want to say like, okay, like, we want this to start tomorrow, and like here's a smart contract to prove that we're serious. And you know that each block on Ethereum right now is about, I want to say 13 seconds, 14 seconds. Um, yeah, I thought it was 10, but and I know they try and roughly aim for 10, but there are websites that track like actually what it is, and right now it's been hovering around 13, 14. So you can kind of just, multiply it out. Although, yeah, there is the thing that like you will not get the exact time. It's kind of more of like you can get it within, I don't know, like a 10, 20 minute sort of accuracy. Um, so if, right. Yep. Yep. And you could also, manually, there are, pausing functions that if you do want to do it manually, you can also do that pretty easily as well with a small gas fee. Um, so shall we keep rolling through this? Balance of, yeah, go ahead. Mm, hmm, right, right, and you want to do so efficiently. Cool. I think like a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. Uh, yeah. Mhm. Yes, I do. Right. So if we do, mhm. Right, right, and we do not do a mint in serial order. It's randomized. Yeah, I'm gonna let it load. Right. Yeah. For context on the Rebel Punks project, this was a project that Caleb and I launched few weeks ago that was sort of a rebellion against the original CryptoPunks algorithm. So you have traits like welding goggles, which are female only in the original CryptoPunks, which now are on a male. So every uh, every rebel punk kind of is an impossible CryptoPunk. Um, so that's kind of the short on that project. Yep. Oh, sure. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Oh, I guess one last thing is, so right now this JSON is on our server. Um, I'm hosting it at Tavatar. And so what that means is that the this URL, if this went down, all of a sudden we'd have a pretty big issue. And so eventually, like all this would get stored on IPFS, this full JSON file. Yep, you're good. Let me check my battery life as well. Cool. I'll probably do a little one ear AirPod swapperoonie, but we're good for now. Okay, nice. So that's the token URI. That's the unique kind of URL for each token. Base URI we've talked about before. Um, token of owner by index. I don't know if you want to keep rolling through this. Hmm. Right, these are kind of there's a lot of wrappers that kind of exist on all this. I'm not sure actually where's the final implementation. I think just right there we go. I'm now curious where the actual underscore transfer function is. There we go. Hmm. Cool. Yeah, I'm actually gonna use the bathroom. Let's um, take 1 minute break. So I'll be right back as well.
What is up, YouTube? We are chillin', Jay chillin'. Feel free to hit that link below, subscribe, click the link here, here, there, over there, to the left, to the right.
All right. I'm back. I just want to make sure the audio is still okay. Um, Looks like it's fine. Let's see. Spotify did stop playing. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, it's good. Cool. Can you hear the music? You should find out and or hear yourself, I guess. It's interesting. Can you hear your own voice when you talk? Okay, yeah, no, it's definitely not working. This is why I check. I'm using something called Black Hole. Okay, now it should work.
My voice.
So you should hear yourself. Yeah, start talking and you should hear yourself eventually.
Hello, hello, test. I hear the music now. Peter Piper. Okay, I can hear myself now.
Okay, great. Thanks for checking in.
How long has that been out?
Just like since I took my headphones off.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So I just want to say thanks for bearing with me for going through this whole thing, because the deployment and getting the testnet stuff, I think, is a lot quicker. But just understanding how this all works. And then, like we said, the contract at the bottom is super short. So they've
Yeah,
extracted a lot of stuff up here.
yeah,
So let's just keep
good.
skimming. I know you've seen it all before, but these are all these random side thoughts of just stuff that I've suffered with. So let me save you some suffering. So transfer token, pretty straightforward, but this is one of those intense functions that has a lot of these internal functions. So before token transfer, approve, token holders, token owners. So this is, I'm not going to read through the logic right here, but I think it, checks to see that you own the token, and then it removes you from being able to transfer the token, sets the new person as owning the token, and then it might remove all the approvals. So if you've approved anyone else to send your token, it might remove those, but it might not, because the approval might actually be specific to your own public key, or that might be approved for all. So if you transfer a token, that doesn't need to be reset, because since you no longer own it, they're no longer approved to transfer tokens that you own. So that's kind of automatic. That was a little mind-blowing for me. I thought it was a security hole, just them being lazy and not wanting to expend energy in cleaning up the blockchain, because it gives you a little bit of gas back, but assuming you own other tokens, you don't actually need to do it. So you'll see a lot of that in Solidity contracts, where they'll try not to manipulate the state and just leave extra data. Okay, so 1752 is also, it's hard to sometimes update entire arrays because you run into these n-sized problems. Like, say that you had 17 people approved to transfer tokens on your behalf. If you go try and delete all 17, that might not take that long, but say you have 1,000, now you've turned that into an n-sized problem where you try and delete a full 1,000, and that costs you a shit ton of gas and crashes your program, because it's just a computation that's larger than what miners are willing to do. So
Right.
while you added them all one by one, trying to remove them all at once, total mistake, which is why everything is saved in hash maps, and you have to specifically have the ID that you want to delete. So I've seen delete functions, but you have to say, delete this public key. And sometimes if you don't even have the public key, you can't even list out the ones you want to delete because there's no way to list all the people that you have actually given access to. It's kind of weird because hash maps aren't indexed in any way that's actually searchable unless you define another hash map to make it searchable. Yeah.
Yep. All good stuff.
All right, cool. Cool. Those are just all those internal functions. We'll skip those. Prove, yeah, before token, we'll skip that. Okay.
Cool. I mean, I think that
Ownable, dude.
we did skip over. I realized as I searched, we skipped over the mint function, which I think is also worth talking about.
So I would find the mint without an underscore, the original mint function. You just, yes, yeah.
Well, so there's the definition in craniums, but I was gonna first just kind of look at like the skeleton.
Well, can you go to the one in mint craniums? Does that call the underscore mint function? I'm just trying to chase it.
Yeah. It calls safe mint.
Okay, and then just stay here for a second. Let's just go through this way, because one of the interesting things on mint functions is you mint a single NFT, but a lot of these functions have abstracted it so that you can mint like a certain number of them, like 20 at the same time.
Right.
Which looping on Solidity actually runs into some weird edge cases. For example, if you mint a single function, you can a single NFT, you can return the number of the NFT that was minted. But if you mint a whole array of them, there's not a great way to concatenate that array and then return it, because you can't actually have temporary arrays in Solidity functions. I learned this the hard way. So like in a normal function, you'd say array is empty for each push onto array. But in Solidity, if you want an array, you actually have to write that to memory, which is expensive as hell. So instead, it just makes sense to return individual numbers at a time. But if you're looping through a mint function, you can't return all the numbers in an array. So instead, you'll see people mint 20 NFTs, and then immediately after that, call a function where they say, get the NFTs for this user, or get the number of NFTs this user owns, and then get NFT 1 for this user, get NFT 2. So it seems convoluted. It's a lot more contract calls, but it kind of allows you to only do read-only functions.
Right.
And not have to write anything to memory.
And that latter bit, when you're saying they're doing it one by one, you mean they're doing that like on their Web3 site, correct?
Correct, like on the Etherscan search portal or through the Web3 calls.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing that in the contract. The contract has already defined the functions that we sort of covered above, which are get balance for public key, which says Caleb owns 10, and then get mint ID of public key of array index. So get Caleb 1 is number 572. So the mint function doesn't return that. You have to then query after which tokens it actually mint.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point I'm trying to get to.
Yep.
So cool. So if we go to safe mint, this is quickly going to say, are you trying to mint more tokens than are still available for mint? If so, fail. If not, let's go mint that stuff. That's what it says on line 1940. And then safe mint is this thing where it has this extra data. So I sort of mentioned this. There's this extra double quotes on line 1650 where it passes that in. I don't honestly know why it does that, but I think it's in some way preventing you from calling safe mint in another function or reentrancy. I don't know, I'm just saying buzzwords right now.
It looks like this may be out of scope, but it looks like a requirement for this specific IERC 721 receiver. It might kind of just be like some sort of generic, like.
That makes sense. No, because I've seen things where contracts send extra data along with their calls. So while it's double quotes empty in the regular mint function, if a contractor is trying to mint it, they might send more data and expect some sort of response.
Right. And this contract right now is just throwing this away. It doesn't need to pass
Exactly.
it along to Mint, but in theory, you could have some sort of special, minting behavior.
Announce or okay.
Uh,
So
so I think that this
mint.
minting bit,
Mint is similar to transfer.
yeah, I think though, like people, this notion of like minting like an NFT onto the blockchain, I think is a bit like confusing for people. So I think this could be worthwhile to talk through carefully here of what's going on. So, like, if I may, um,
Go for it.
so we have here this address here, address 0. This is the null address, also known as the burn address. This is a Ethereum wallet address which no one has the private keys to, and is kind of used as like a kind of the place from which all begins, and also the place
The
to which
origin.
all ends. It is, the giver, the taker, the alpha, and the omega. Um, and so what this is just saying is like you can't create a token and send it to the null address. Not that anyone would, it's just kind of like a safety thing. This is double checking that this particular token ID. Oh, sorry, my phone alarm is going off. I just heard it.
Gotcha. While you
Uh,
get that, let me also say you can't send tokens to the burn address,
yeah,
which is actually built into the transfer function, which actually is annoying for people who want to burn their NFTs.
yeah,
So instead, a lot of people send them to 0000 dead as the burn address, and that's just a way to get around the fact that these tokens are unburnable. Not in the
right.
same sense as Rebel Punks, but just they've blocked the null address.
Right. And so people can still burn them by sending them to,
An unknown wallet, which is pretty much
right,
every wallet.
exactly.
But the great thing about the null address or 000 dead is other people can go look it up and see how much stuff has been burned.
Exactly. Let me send this text message. Do you want to do me the favor of actually rolling through the rest of this? I could tell you that in the context of this contract, this is actually just like a null operation. It doesn't do anything.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, as you can see, it's just an empty function. But yeah, you could maybe talk through what these 3 lines are doing.
Yeah, I'm looking at token holders. So 2.add. So I'm assuming token holders is the list of people that own tokens. So the to address is who you're sending this NFT to or who's minting it. So that'd be my public key. And then it's adding the ID, the token ID. So say I just minted NFT number 5,000. It's adding that to my array. Token owners.set token ID. This is the exact same thing, but it's the opposite mapping. So token holders, I could probably put in my public key and find out what token I own. Whereas token owners, I can put in the token I own, or the token number, and find out whose public key owns that. So it's just the reverse mapping. And then emit, we haven't covered emit yet, but emit are these events that get printed onto the blockchain that are searchable, that are pretty useful for any sort of Web3 application. So this creates an emit called transfer that has an input. So it says what address it was created from and sent to and what the token ID was. And we can look at the emit or the transfer emit function above. But basically all that does is prints that onto the blockchain. And then Infura, which is sort of this gateway to the blockchain that's been created, allows you to set up a socket connection where you can be alerted anytime an emit event is created. So you can, in real time, see what tokens are transferred, what tokens are minted or burnt, or whatever emit events exist. So we're going to go to the testnet Ethereum faucet later, and we're going to see that not only are we getting testnet Ethereum, but we're going to see live who else is minting testnet Ethereum, and that's created by these mint events. So that's all I have to say about events.
Cool. This is the burn function. Yeah, I think, and that's minting. I think that was a good kind of run through. This is the burn function. This is if you just want to destroy permanently one of the NFTs, it gets transferred to the null address by the owner. Kind of self-explanatory.
Can I just say?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing we didn't cover on minting is how you choose what token ID to mint. We have a random number generator function in our contract, which is a little bit of hypocrisy. There's no real random numbers on the blockchain. So instead, you just make it as convoluted as possible. So our random number is a combination of their public key, the current block time, and a nonce that gets added up. And then we pick a number 1 through 10,000 that hasn't been minted using that number. I've seen other mint functions that just go sequentially, 0,
Right.
then they mint 1, then they mint 2, which is fine if people don't know what the tokens are. And that's actually cool because it shows you how early you were. You know, maybe minting token 1 is super famous because like you were the first person to do it. But if you know what the tokens are, that can be problematic. If you know what the URIs are, because it can be hacked, it's less random.
Right.
And then you said that people are confused about what minting a token on the blockchain means. Literally, all it means is there's a giant array, and you add your public key into that array at a certain array position. That's all it means. Okay, it's actually 2 hash maps, but by having your ID in that hash map, you claim ownership of that ID, because the only way to get your number there is to pay for it. Okay, that's all I have to say about minting.
Cool.
So, where are we at? We covered minting, we covered burning, we covered transfer. That's pretty much all a contract is. I saw you scroll by ownable, which...
Right. We should talk about ownable because it is... this makes your life on OpenSea a lot easier.
So talk them through your hell on OpenSea.
Yeah, so in the absence of, this essentially allows you to hold on, just give me 1 second, sorry.
Do you want me to describe it, or you're texting someone?
Yeah, okay, I'm good. So this owner's wallet address, and what that allows you to do on OpenSea is that the OpenSea system will see that, okay, this wallet address is kind of considered to be the controller of this project, which makes it easy if you can sign in to, say MetaMask with that wallet. You could do things like rename, your project. You can do things like change the description, do all sort of the like modifications that as a project owner you would want to be able to do. If you don't have this function, you have to do what we had to do with Rebel Punks, which was to email their support and essentially prove that you control the deployer address and set that as the owner, which just takes like several more days, and it's much easier just to do it this way. Not the end of the world, but yeah.
My 2 cents on that is a lot of our functions. Let's hit this up. Line 18. Where'd it go? Owner only. 1863. Can you just highlight 1863? So it says owner only. We have a function called deployer only. So it's obvious that we deployed from one of Andrew's private keys. So we own the contract. And there's a lot of functions that say Are you the deployer? If so, you can run this function like start sale. People add this owner only interface for the sole reason that you can transfer ownership to other people. Say Andrew gets tired of the project and wants to transfer ownership to his brother. Okay, he doesn't have a brother, but his imaginary brother, but he doesn't want to give him his public or his private key because he's used that for other banking. Instead, he can just transfer ownership of the contract itself. Um, we don't have that luxury because we don't have this interface. So
Yep.
that's why it was created.
Yep. Yeah, well
And you also
described.
see people renounce ownership where they'll transfer ownership to the null address so that no one owns it anymore,
Right.
which makes it truly decentralized, but removes a lot of the functionality.
Yeah, this was especially important. There was a project called Fame Lady Squad where I won't get into it, although it is hilarious. Suffice to say, a group of Russian guys pretended to be a group of women, and so they released this like female avatars project, and you know, this isn't FUD. Like I own some of these, so uh, it is what it is, right? Family to squad is exposed by anyway, so um they look like this. Yeah, these turned out to be three Russian men with not these names, and certainly not based in the U.S. Um, and basically, the when this came out, the price dropped by over 90%, 95%. And to sort of stem the bleeding, they came clean to their credit, and they proceeded to actually transfer the ownership of the contract to a major NFT female influencer named Digital Art Chick, who then transferred it to someone that the community had, elected to be their sort of owner of it. So, this definitely made things a lot smoother because, like the Russian guys could have said like, here's a private key to if they didn't have this, they could have said, here's the private key. But, who knows if they had kept the private key, right? You never know. And so
Mhm.
this is the one way to like really guarantee that like ownership has been fully and irreversibly transferred.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Even if you give your brother your private key, you still have it.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
recommended to implement this, and it looks like it was nicely done. Cool. Can
And
we?
they have a renounce ownership function.
Right.
Yeah, transfer.
This is like I guess
All pretty standard.
this is kind of burn the ships. Metaphorically speaking, this is saying like no one could ever edit anything about this project again. Um,
And
so
if
yeah.
you, yeah, if you leave it here, on line 1875, we sort of covered this, but it says own their own. I'm reading this backwards. Only owner, which is the modifier above. So only the owner can renounce ownership. Some random third-party NFT owner like me or you couldn't go, oh, I'm going to mess with this contract and renounce ownership.
Right.
Like we don't have permission. That's what modifiers are for, is they set permissions.
Right. Very, very, very key. Um, cool.
Cool, cool. So we reached the gold at the bottom of the rainbow. We're here. We made it to the contract. How does it feel?
Feels good. Feels good. I think maybe it would have been smart to like start here and be like, okay, like is ERC 721? What is that? And then like kind of go from there. But I think either way worked. We made it.
I like this way going through because if we did that way, we'd be like, is ERC 721? What's that? Is ERC 65? What's that? Is ownable? What's that? And we just work our way back and be like, I feel like these are layers. And now
Right.
we've built it up to the peak, which is Neapolitan
Right.
ice cream for the
We went
ages.
bottom up as opposed to top down.
Yeah.
Cool. But
So
yes,
now we're
we've
here,
made it.
safe math. Do you want to talk through this line by line?
I
What is
think
string public prof?
hopefully this is now like familiar to a lot of people. We went through the 721, we went through Ownable just now. Safe Math is just automatically protecting us, which is so great, so helpful. This actually, so I think this is the provenance hash, uh, which is possibly not used. They may have.
Forgot to set it. Oops.
Yeah, no, they said it. I actually deleted it. This,
Oh,
this
gotcha.
was something like, you know, some hex,
But do you know what the number meant? Because I would have guessed that it was the IPFS hash to a zip file of all the images, or is it
No, I think this
a
is
hash of
the,
the code?
I think this is the, like, roughly like the block that the contract is deployed on, um,
Gotcha.
or a hash of that, something like that. Because
Well,
prov
it's not a
is,
constant, so is it set somewhere below?
it was, so in the Wicked Cranium's contract, here we go. Um, I just started to migrate to Neapolitan. So, but yeah, it looks like this.
Gotcha. All right. Well, if you're interested, we can find out. But I say we know it exists and move on.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, how significant is it for people to have this provenance hash? Because you can, of course, just look up like actually when something was deployed on the blockchain. So, yeah. Anyway,
But like we said, you can deploy multiple contracts even with the same token name. Like someone else could copy paste this. So perhaps the block
right.
that it was created or who it was deployed by or the owner is the only thing that really says like this is the original.
Right. Although, this is just a string, so I could, go back away in time and say like, oh, this is my
Oh.
provenance hash. I just don't think it's like a great system.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to delete it,
That's
because,
why I like the block number one or just the deployer address.
right, right. I could see setting like
We
some block number function, but I think like actually having it in a string just makes no sense. Um,
Yeah, we don't have it in ours. So do you want to set the price to 0.01?
yeah, let's do it. So this is in Gwei or Wei?
Well, this little comment next to me makes me think that it's in the smallest unit. Um, which one's that? Gwei. Gwei would be gigaway. It's in Wei, which is the smallest one.
All right, let's see. Just double checking
But I
that.
always, like you do, double check. You know, measure twice, cut once.
Right. Okay, so it is in Wei. Okay. Cool.
I would type 0.1 so we know what it is, or 0.01. Yeah, beautiful.
So this is the max
So
number.
another thing, people
Go ahead.
customize these contracts. So you're going to say it says craniums everywhere. So you could just do a copy replace or not, because you might want to get the casing right. So is there a reason to do a max purchase of only 20? They just had it at 100.
Yeah,
I don't know if the answer there is.
it does seem to be pretty standard these days to do 20. I think there's a few things. I think it's, for one, like, if gas is really crazy, like if your mint cost per NFT increases sublinearly with like the number of NFTs, but like, if 20 is kind of a safe number where like it's cheap enough that even if gas is like really contested, like your transaction is probably not going to bounce. Whereas, if you do 100, also it could bounce. Also in the case where you have let's say a lot of people trying to mint all at once, and if people can just kind of instantly mint like a huge number of them, other like kind of like smaller fish might not get a chance. And so having
Hmm.
that kind of, non-triv, not, it's 20 is not like a small number. I mean, you're probably gonna be paying like over $1,000 in gas, even on a good day. Um, it's it's still like kind of makes it a little bit more fair, and kind of also protects people. Say if you reach like the you're at near the limit, and it fails, it's not as big of a deal.
Hmm.
So I think those are some of the reasons why. I've never really thought about it too closely, but that's kind of just me shooting from the hip.
Yeah, we never really ran into this huge mint out in 5 minutes problem, but I get that. You don't want people sniping all of them because the actual unique number of token owners adds value to the project. So if
Right,
it's only owned by 10 people and they're trying to scalp it, well, they kind of hijack your project.
right.
Okay, so sale is active, not true. I haven't seen this constructor before because they abstracted the constructor to the ERC 721, but this is interesting how the actual constructor is empty, but I guess we're defining the inputs for the constructor for ERC 721. That's just a cool
Yeah,
syntax.
that is very cool. Yeah, I haven't seen this before either, but I like it. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, so update that.
Oh, interesting. Withdrawal. So they're paying the contract directly, which this
Right.
is a conversation that we had, which is a contract has all these interfaces and therefore is somewhat, well, it's much more insecure than just a single address. So we
Hmm.
actually passed through the minting to an address that was not the contract address for security reasons,
Yep.
but it seems that they haven't done that,
Yeah.
which just
Well,
scares me because now there's the withdrawal function, which, it says only owner, but what could go wrong?
yeah. Yeah. I think like this is maybe a good moment to like think through. So we're gonna split the proceeds of this 50-50, right? Of which the proceeds may be zero. Um, and you know, I think the sort of the only like so in Rebel Punks we spent a lot of time thinking about that aspect, where we automatically kind of dispersed the uh, the proceeds to our um,
Two different wallets.
two different wallets. And so, we could kind of slot that in here. It might be worthwhile. What do you think?
I think it's worthwhile because just yeah, I was gonna say it just concerns me to have the money in the contract itself, and also Meebits does it where they slot it to a different wallet. Just seems like a better security practice. But
Yeah,
if you do want to create a DAO in the future, which I'm not sure what that takes, it it does make sense to leave some of the money in the contract itself, but
right,
I don't think we're really looking to do that in our 1 day project.
right. Definitely not trying to start a DAO on this.
The final thing here that hear me out, if you
Yep,
add a withdrawal function, you then have to consciously continually withdraw the money. It doesn't just automatically get transferred to your account, which is kind of a pain in the butt if it's only small amounts. And also you have to continuously do it, which not only costs gas to write it into the wallet of the contract itself, but then costs more gas to write it into your contract. So just passing it through saves those extra transactions.
right. Although if you do have multiple beneficiaries, you do have to pay the transfer gas for each one, right?
That is true. Minting on our contract is definitely a little higher than some other contracts. I assume that was because of the rebellion, but that is a good consideration you have there.
Right. I mean, if you consider each one, you have to probably spend, I'm not sure how much it is right now, but probably at least $5 per address that you transfer to.
So hey, this is a side project. That's fair. Let's instead do the withdrawal function to split it to two different addresses and just leave it in because it's secure, hopefully.
Wait a
And
second. So, but how could uh, with the withdraw function, it's going to it wouldn't split it between us. It would just leave it here on the contract.
well, with the current function, we'd have to edit it a little. What do you mean? We'll just leave it in there?
Yeah,
Like it's
sorry, maybe
only
I
one
misunderstood
owner.
you. Um, Describe what
So
you're thinking.
instead of changing the mint function to transfer, instead of copying what we have here in RebelPunks,
Hmm.
we could copy what we have here in RebelPunks into the withdraw function instead of the mint function, so that yeah, we could save money to the contract. I'm not opposed to
Mm,
that idea. It makes sense. But then if we call the withdraw function, it splits it to two addresses.
I see. So
Because
it's okay.
because
Yeah,
honestly, I'm siding with you in the fact that it costs more money to mint if you have to split it to two addresses, and that's not a cost that we should make our minters bear,
right.
and that's also not something that you want to multiply by 10,000 mints.
And so the thought I had that I was like, oh, maybe this is suboptimal is like, um, only the owner can call this, but it just dawned on me that, what could be good is like actually having a withdraw function that either only the beneficiaries or really like, I guess there's not really much of a downside, like anyone could just call. Probably just the beneficiaries would be a little safer. So that way, like, let's say like I'm the owner of the smart contract, like you don't need to wait on me to like press to call the withdraw function. You could also withdraw at your leisure.
Yeah, I would do the beneficiaries only because if we leave the money in the contract, we might not want anyone to withdraw to our addresses because we might
Right,
want to leave it in the contract if it
right,
becomes a DAO or something in the future.
right.
But I've also seen functions where the owner contract actually allows for multiple owners. It's like an array of owners, kind of like a
Mm,
whitelist.
hmm.
I'm not saying we go down that road, but I've seen that, so that kind of jumped into my mind.
Right.
So
I think like what we're
yeah,
trying like staying close to like what our goal is here. We're trying to sort of like cover kind of like that simple standard case. Um, so I think it's uh, what you
I'm not
described.
opposed to leaving it as only owner because if you don't get paid, I don't get paid.
Right. I guess that keeps it pretty fair. All right. Cool. Um, yeah, that works for me. And it's simple. So and incentives are close enough. Um, Let's see. So what we want to have actually now is we're going to add a two beneficiaries. All right, let me. So we've swapped. I'm going to add a new task, which is add beneficiary logic to contract to Neapolitan.sol. And do you have a key for me that I could?
Yeah, do you want to just hard code them in, or do you want to do what we did in RebelPunks, where we pass them to the constructor for the sole reason that it becomes more reusable if anyone else wants to use this code?
I mean, I think it's essentially equally reusable if it's just like a string that's defined here.
And if it is a string that's defined and they forget to change it, then we get their money. So that seems like a benefit.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No
But
one
only
ever
they
use
can
this
choose to
contract.
withdraw
Don't
it.
change don't change the who gets the money. We'll take the money.
Wait, but then only they, as the owner, can choose to fire that function. So maybe we should change it so the beneficiaries can also fire the withdraw function. You know what I'm saying? I would hate for them to mess up and then spite us the money.
Let's keep it simple. We could
All right,
come
I got
back
it.
to it depending on time.
So okay. Yeah. So then, let me find the two addresses. Okay, sending you the addresses.
Okay.
So I believe this is your address and my address. Actually, this says replace with Andrew's ledger address, so let's double check.
Yeah, let me.
But that looks like mine because I remember mine starts with 50.
Let me think about this for a second. Is this mine? Probably not.
I checked mine, and that's mine.
Let me go look mine up. Give me a second.
Did you already have money on your ledger? Oh no, 70%, 30%. Yeah, that looks about right.
I mean, yeah, we should be able to just look at the Rebel Punks
I just
contract.
looked it up on Etherscan. Can you? Transactions. So if we click on a minting transaction on Rebel Punks, and then, no, internal transactions, it'll say what addresses the money was sent to, which is, yep. These are the correct addresses. So I would scroll up on the Rebel Punks page. It's not going to say our beneficiary address is there, but we're going to be able to see where it sent the beneficiary money to.
Yeah,
if you scroll all the way to the top.
Yeah, good eye. Oh, here, let me, I have that on Firefox. Let me paste that over here. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's funny. That was weird. For a second there, it was showing my ENS address.
I think that might have been because you had minted some. It was showing the transactions.
Right. Okay. So this is me right here.
That's me above it.
Yeah. All right. So we got this one, and it's case insensitive, right? This doesn't matter.
Yes, but you might want to make these addresses not strings.
Yes. Cool. And
I think if you make them addresses, you want to remove the quotes, but I'm not 100% sure.
Let's just look this up. Solidity. A quick note just about like Solidity in general. It's not the only language you can write smart contracts in, but and others have been developed that like kind of are in some ways safer from a pure like abstract code perspective. They kind of have stricter type checking and guard against certain errors automatically, whereas like in Solidity you have to import safe math, etc. But I think it's still very much recommended to use Solidity because if you think about the actual best sort of security is battle testing. And all right, here we go. So it looks like you kind of just want to call this address function. And so people still use Solidity over like the quote unquote more secure languages because, there is constant effort every day to hack into Solidity contracts, and the ones that have stood the test of time, you could feel really confident about. So just something to note there. Let's get this right. Okay, there you go. So
you need to make them payable. You might just replace public with payable. You might be able to do both, but in the RebelPunks contract, we just have address payable.
Then that's fine.
Public would mean that people could read it on the Etherscan, but they can see it anyway in transactions.
Yep. Cool. So this is, we're doing this.
They have the same name. Oh, no, they don't.
In theory, you might want, a contract where you could customize like who the beneficiaries are. Say if it's some kind of you're building like a decentralized exchange or something like that, and there's not like kind of like the original artists or anything. It's just more of like who's in control of the project. But with most NFT projects, it stays the same. But to be fair, with the Fame Lady Squad, they also did change this aspect as well. So there are benefits to having this be customizable. And so you can imagine a pretty similar thing to this, which would also allow you to define some, set of, beneficiaries. We're not doing that here just because, we want to
fast and dirty. We're doing it fast and dirty.
We're doing it fast and dirty. To be fair, it would actually be faster and dirtier just to leave it with this kind of withdrawal function. But we're gonna do it kind of in between. So with this one, we now want to add a function here, which is going to transfer half the balance to my wallet address. I'll just say Andrew and Caleb. Not that it matters because we're splitting it evenly. But yeah, so let's see how this is implemented on the RebelPunks contract.
Line 645.
Thank you. 645. Okay. Oh, that was just my headset lowering on battery, so I'm gonna swap to one-ear mode. Hopefully, let me know if this breaks the audio.
You just froze for about 2 seconds, so.
Okay, I think.
You want me to check?
I think, yeah. Let me know.
I can still hear the music.
Then, yeah, if the music's good, then we're good.
And I just heard myself talk.
Great. Then we're all set. So here is the transfer functions. It actually is really that simple.
It is. Let me just reiterate. The reason you multiply by 70 and divide by 100 is because there's no fractions in Solidity. Everything is an integer.
Yep. And
by no fractions, I mean there's no floats or decimals.
Yep. So for clarity, this here is going to take the wait a second. So what is number of tokens doing here?
So that's how many they're minting at once. You probably don't
right. Okay. So you're multiplying by the price. Okay. So we actually just want to do. This is going to be simpler. So we're going to have.
I would do balance multiply by 50 divide by 100. Because. So just to get specific, you don't actually need a 256 because that's the default size.
Right. Cool. I think that looks good. We should remove that.
Oh, what did that do?
So this
transfer. Do we have a transfer function? Oh, message sender is just the sender. Okay, never mind. We're good. We're good.
So what this function is doing, it's checking what is the balance at this current wallet address, meaning the deployer address. And it's then taking that, splitting that in half, and then sending that to each of the beneficiaries. Anything else that we, I don't know if we want to like emit like, you know, like some kind of like, some kind of event.
Just as an exercise, we'd have to define the event.
Yeah, it's okay. Speed run.
Yeah, and that's only interesting to us. Probably the rest of the blockchain doesn't need to know.
Right, exactly. And you know, if you look at 10 different projects, you'll find 50 different discussions on like how this should all be set up. There's like lots of trade-offs around like having like kind of like a trustless system where that like someone can't kind of get screwed over out of their fair share versus like convenience versus security. So there isn't really one right answer. What's nice about this is that it's pretty simple. The owner can't get paid without also transferring it to the other beneficiary. So in that way, it is trustless. The owner could say like, oh, I'm not gonna withdraw it until you beneficiary 2 do X, Y, or Z, but beneficiary 2 could also just say, well, fuck you, like I'm like, you're not getting paid
I
either.
don't get paid, you don't get paid.
Right.
Suck a dick.
So
this is on YouTube Live.
damn it.
Cancelled.
Delisted. RIP. Yeah, so don't do that to your friend Richard. Anyway, so this next, so I think that's all that needs to be said on the withdraw function here. And we could also see, you have this reserve craniums function. Now, what this is doing is essentially allowing the owners to mint, I guess they picked 40 ahead of time, usually. And they do this. This is like, okay, like, in order to give the original kind of project creators, maybe initial supporters, and also any influencers, giving them kind of free, you only have to pay gas. You don't have to pay the actual minting cost. So that could be useful. We did not do this with Rebel Punks, and so wound up,
which was a mistake.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it wasn't. The minting cost is high.
Yeah, ultimately, like for us, like the cost was dominated by minting. Yeah,
it's just a challenge doing giveaways without being able to mint them.
Yeah, I could see honestly No, I think this makes sense. I was gonna say like maybe it'd be better instead of like minting them, to just like allow other people to mint at no mint cost. But if you're trying to give things away for free to people, you just want to airdrop it to them. You don't want them to even have to pay the mint cost. So
yeah, I was gonna say the other thing is technically if we minted them, the money went back into our wallet. So we could have minted ones to give away, except that looks bad that then the money in our wallet we're like pulling back into our other wallet. So to not have to pay, you don't have to create that money trail that people try and follow around. It's just very transparent. These are being minted for giveaways.
Right.
I hate that there's no limit here. I've seen minting functions where you can only freely mint, say 100 of them for giveaways and whatnot. It looks like you can call this function as many times as you want, which
Wow, that's a really good
honestly
point.
concerns me.
Yep.
Also,
Yeah.
also, my observation trying to figure out how this function works is it looks like they did sort of sequential minting where they just get the total supply of how many have been created, and then they're minting the token ID of supply plus I. So
Right.
they're just minting sequentially. At first I thought that this was like them being able to mint outside of the scope. So if 10,000 exists, they can mint 10,001, 10,002, 10,003, which might actually be the case.
Well, let's check
I don't know if
SafeMint.
SafeMint, does that have a maximum mint number? Which I think it does. Okay, max craniums.
Actually,
Okay, cool.
no, it may not. No, I don't think it does.
Oh my God, SafeMint,
Wow.
because that SafeMint is inside the maximum.
Right.
So they could continue to mint infinitely? Let's go down this
Absolutely.
rabbit hole real quick. So mint
Absolutely.
craniums checks that total supply is less than max craniums, but
Right.
developer mint doesn't.
Developer mint doesn't. So, wow, as a Wicked Cranium
Can we go
holder,
to
that
SafeMint, the function?
yeah, no, I already checked.
I need to see this for my eyes.
Look,
SafeMint calls SafeMint token,
there's
calls
no
virtual mint. Holy crap, bro!
yeah.
You gotta tweet this shit.
Yeah, it was quite a find. You know, and this is sort of the
Oh my God, this is awesome! This is the gold that we're looking for.
yeah.
Now, ideally, we would have found some way to print our own craniums, but instead, we're just gonna say that whoever owns the contract can. Now, here's a question. Did they renounce ownership? We should literally start a campaign to force them to renounce ownership for this reason.
Yeah. I'm tempted now to sell my Wicked Cranium because this is a really bad look.
You should check the ownership though and see if it's been burnt. Like that
Okay.
it could have been.
Right,
Okay,
that would
let's
be
not
fine.
spend too much time on this sidetrack, but let's definitely
Yeah,
make a note.
this is a distraction. All right, let's see. Who is the owner? Nope. This is still almost certainly a live address.
Oh shoot. Yo, do balance of. If you go to contracts.
I mean, I could see the balance right here.
No, not the balance of how many craniums have been minted.
It should be like
13 craniums minted.
It should be like
It was
13
like 10,
or
7,
10.
26.
Yeah, let's see.
Read contracts at the top. Oh, you're looking for the max. It'll
Yeah,
tell them.
here you go.
max.
So it should be this.
10, 7, 62.
Yeah, and let's see. Total supply. Yeah, okay, so this is matching
10,
for
7,
now.
62. For now, it is.
That's pretty wild.
I love this. This is why it feels like a treasure hunt every time I read a contract. Because not only am I learning new paradigms for how people have set it up, but you get to double check everything. And
Yeah.
if you double check it and you're like, wait, this doesn't look secure, and then you find that it is secure, you're like, oh, that's really cool. It's really cool how they added this security feature or this logical branch. And if it's not secure, you're like, wow, this is awesome. I just found a loophole.
Yeah. So the hottest project in the Avatar world right now is this one called Wow, it is really skyrocketed. This came out like this past week. And has just absolutely exploded in value. So I'm kind of curious now about their contract. Also maybe a little bit of a distraction, but you know, because this is sort of the latest hotness, like if we found something like that in here, that would be a pretty big deal as well. They also probably have
the multi
right. So what have they done?
file approach. And because of this, we could probably copy this and go compare it side by side in one of our, VS Code comparers to the original.
Right. Total gift supply. I gotta say, it is pretty nice that they separated out. But
Yeah. Well, it just allows you to more easily compare all the libraries to the original hashes or just side by side, because they could have easily snuck something into the ownable contract here or the other interfaces that we
right.
would have missed.
So what have they done differently? Comparing this to Wicked Cranium, certainly a longer contract. They also kind of use this same withdraw style. They have a proof string, which I have no idea what that. Okay, so they've gifted 77. I don't know why this is this type of a number. That's really strange to me. Have you ever seen this before?
No.
So
all right, man. Let's explore this after. Let's get Neapolitan out though.
Sounds good. All right. This is where we have
if you really want to dive deep and look for hacks, let's go back to this contract. I totally agree.
Yeah, I am just like, you know what it is? Like seeing like that massive oversight, all of a sudden I'm like, ew, do we even want to really be building off of this one?
We could solve it. We could move that. We could easily.
So it's like, so this is actually what this is what it should be. It should look more like this. Oops. Come on, prettier, give me that indentation. Fine. So, right, this is restricting the gift. So they have a limit. They're making sure you can't exceed the gift supply if their total supply is more than the max. So this is much, much, much safer. They also give a specific address that they can gift directly to, which is great because
they don't have to mint them to themselves and then transfer them, incurring
so this is saving them some gas. So I think let's use this because I like that a lot better. So we're going to just swap out some of these. Some of these will have actually that's another thing, is this should be a constant. These don't need to be. Right? What's the max of a uint? It's
max of a uint is very large, but if you remove the 256, it's still a 256. So you could do uint 60 or 16.
Right.
If you know that your constant is.
Right.
I don't know how that affects math though.
You know what?
I'm assuming you can multiply 6 by. Also, technically, it saves storage space if you define all your variables above each other in a row of the same size. So you want to group your 256s together in the first couple lines, and then your 32s, and then your 16s. I don't know why, but they say that saves storage space.
Yeah, I remember that as well. So how is this working? You're passing in like an array of addresses, and okay, so if you want to send 5 to a certain address, you would just send an array that would be, you know,
The address 5 times.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Gotcha.
I get that, kind of saving on gas a little bit.
And that, yeah, that's that edge case where you don't have to configure it all that weirdly.
So they also have a total public supply and total gift supply. I don't know why they have this total public supply. Oh,
I don't know, man. I'm getting just a little bit of anxiety copy pasting stuff out of the contract because there's probably a lot of other related stuff.
Yeah, well,
But
let's
it
just
makes
be
sense
careful
that we
with
would
it.
just need total gift supply.
Yeah, we only need total gift supply. I think they.
Do we need to set it to a default value?
Total supply is defined, of course. We do not. It's probably just default to 0.
Oh yeah, everything is default to 0. I forgot that.
Yeah. Right, so we're not like any of this, like, so this is their, do they not have a mint function? They just use purchase?
People like to name their mint functions different things. Because technically mint, I don't think is part of the ERC 721 standard. It's just all the transfer functions are.
Right, so it looks like what they did here as well is they also had like a public kind of minting launch where they had an allow list that was active for a time, where they let any person on that list mint 2, and I assume before kind of like public minting. This is just unnecessary complexity, but you know, as an option, if you kind of have like, you know, some special group of people that you want to be able to mint with, you could both do an allow list and even things like you know, have a different mint price. You can make it free to mint for the allow list. You know, with I think with Meebit, the Meebit's contract, you know, anyone who had a Rebel Punk and a Autoglyph was able to get a free Meebit, and so they probably use something sort of like this.
Correction, I'm not sure if it was a free Meebit or they were just allowed to mint a Meebit. Was it free?
So by free, I meant that like they didn't have to pay an additional minting cost. Like they weren't airdropped, I mean, they were allowed to mint without cost. Okay. Whereas
that's I know that there's some projects where if you own it, you can mint it early, but you still have to pay. That doesn't make sense. Okay, it's probably free.
They do exist. Yeah, there was a project like that with my CryptoPunk where I was able to get it either. I think it might have been at like half cost or maybe full cost. Was a day early. So that was cool.
Cool.
Okay, so we have this gift function implemented, and I don't know. So they want to start at 1, not 0.
Devs don't want our tokens to start at 0 but 1. That is a totally valid thing that I think I also did, because you want there to be a token named token 1, but what a lot of people do is arrays are all 0 indexed, so instead the token URI function just returns token ID plus 1.
Right. These off by 1 things can be very, very confusing. So you have to be you have to be very careful with this actually. I personally would be inclined just to not like to let it start at 0. Just to prioritize, like reducing a kind of an error form that is extremely common. For example, CryptoPunks starts at 0. So
Oh,
it's,
really?
yeah, it's not like you're in bad company starting at 0.
It
Um,
makes sense to me, but just a lot of engineers understand 0 as the first number, but real people are like, wait,
right.
what is 0?
It is also weird that it ends at 9. The last CryptoPunk is Punk 9999, um, which instead of Punk 10,000. So uh,
Hmm.
I think it's fine. We'll try it this way, and it'll probably be good just to be a little bit more careful to see how it's done, because I'm sure they wouldn't do this unless whatever there was a decent reason to. Okay, so we have our gift function that's looking good. Um, the sale is active bool is very common. Yes, you do want this to be uh, only owner. I see in this function, in this one, they have a external. Is there any reason to have that or not have that here?
Um, Honestly, I think that's just laziness. Public, I think, would mean that we could also have a function that flips the sale, but I don't think any, or like say, set base URI. If they change the base URI, it could also programmatically flip the state, but I don't think we would ever do that. So I think that setting it to external just is better visually for other developers to understand that it's only called by the person. It's not called by any other functions.
Yep.
So I think they were just lazy, to be honest. You can
I think I can replace all these.
highlight flip state and see if they called it anywhere else. Because if they did call it anywhere else, but usually the public functions or internal functions start with an underscore that says like, hey, this one's called programmatically.
Right. Yeah, they did not. Yep. All right. So yeah, I would no longer recommend the mint craniums. That's for sure.
But
Yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. 1,000%. It's not about the technology. It's about the marketing and the hype and the art and the website. Like, people don't care about the technology. And, assuming the owner of Craniums, like, why in the hell would they ever go mint more and upset that? They've already built the cloud. They've already built the value of the Craniums. So sure, there's this little loophole that exists in the code that they probably overlooked, but they're not gonna do that.
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily sell your craniums. I would just kind of look at this as an evolution.
Right. I mean, for the longest time, you know, um, the CryptoPunks, for literally 4 years, the CryptoPunks pointed at not IPFS, but just the CryptoPunks website.
I think
And
it still points there.
no, actually, I believe it's now fully on chain.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Well,
Although, actually,
to
to
me
be
that's
fair,
URI.
yeah, I don't know what the
Still.
URI would be. Maybe it does still. I actually bet it still points there. You're probably right.
So
Um,
the art could be on IPFS or on chain, but the URI JSON that describes where the art is, I know. So you can mirror your image on chain, but you can't actually prove the lineage by tracing through the URI to the image unless the URI is also on chain. So a lot of people will save the JSON blobs to IPFS, which then points to the images that are on IPFS. And that's fully autonomous, but comes with its own headaches, which hopefully we'll see later today.
yep. So, question for you here, with respect to safe math, like I see when they're actually calculating prices here, Oni is using the asterisk times, whereas this is using .mul. Is .mul covered by safe math, or should you really be using the asterisk?
I want to say the opposite. .mul is safe math because they've actually defined functions
Right, the
called
function.
.mul.
Right.
I would avoid using the asterisks. I'm assuming they're just using it on 115 in I forget what this NFT is called, because it's in the require statement and therefore not as like scary. They're not actually transferring money, but I would still price number of tokens. I would still use .mul everywhere. I've definitely seen +1s though, where they just use +1, like total public supply. They don't use safe math.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, not really sure. Just anywhere you see people calculating amounts of money that's actually being moved, they definitely use safe math.
Yep.
Though I'm sure there, again, is a trade-off. Multiplication just takes two numbers and smashes them together. Safe math has all these extra requirement checks, which adds complexity, time, computation, which just costs more in gas, I guess. So,
right.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it looks like they are using just the traditional, addition operators here. Yeah, it would be
using any safe
interesting.
math?
I think they do import it. Actually, no, they don't. They don't use safe math at all.
How is that even possible? Strings, data.
That's an interesting different metadata thing.
What the French toast?
What additional metadata have they defined? It is funny when you see, oh, interesting. Look at this. They have a base URI and a revealed base URI. Huh.
What does that even mean?
I suspect... Also, what is this proof string?
What is the name of this NFT project? Can you just send me that link to this page?
Yeah.
And then write the word safe math ? I'm gonna explore that at some point. So I have to take a quick water break.
Okay.
And then
yeah, let's
take
another break.
I mean,
so I think this is we now have updated this contract. We should just do a quick search for any kind of craniums. So there you go. Already missed something. And yeah, you should go get some water.
All right.
Because we are good to go. The other thing that's good to check for is just anything around like addresses or hashes. All those values, within the context of that final contract need to be updated. I also am going to go pour myself some more drink. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to put on Serene Focus, an app that I made that is not available on the App Store, but is available for our private viewing here. So please enjoy. Yo, did I hear you get back?
Yep, I'm back. Loving the ocean.
Thanks, man. Did I ever tell you about Serene Focus?
No.
This is actually an app that I made. Um, it's a Swift app, macOS only, and it's sort of a, you know, just a calming thing that sometimes I'll leave open in the background, and if I kind of feel that like sort of stress of like, oh shit, like I don't know what I'm doing, I'll open up Serene Focus as opposed to opening up, Reddit or something like that. Just kind of look at look at the ocean, or I actually have like 8 other kind of nature scenes. Uh,
That's fun.
yeah, it's all accessible instantly via key commands, and was rejected by Apple for not being having enough unique functionality. So I'm the only one who,
Ouch. That hurts.
yeah, it's Apple's not quite serene enough for Serene Focus. So, it's okay. It's all good. I made it for me anyway, so I'm not too unhappy about it. Didn't take long either. And it has some nice little performance optimizations, like the video only plays while the screen is visible, in order to, save compute. But it remains in sync with the audio. So yeah, a little detail there. Uh, and now whenever I go on like a nice like nature trip, I'll set up my camera to record whatever like beautiful scene, and then that kind of becomes another video on Serene Focus. So it kind of enriches travel as well
That's the
for
way
me.
to do it. My background on my computer is 5 by 5 squares. Just a
Okay.
bunch of inspiring photos from that I've taken and other stuff. It's
Yeah.
like my vision board, but it feels very similar where you're feeding more of your adventures into this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
All right,
remember your background.
I'm stretched.
Lots
Yeah,
of
I'm
very
stretched. I'm watered.
silhouettes. I like the silhouettes. Those are
Yes,
my favorite bit. I'll leave it at that.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. You wanted to play this thing to
Yeah, I do. I do.
continue?
I'm just pouring myself another cup of tea.
Yeah, we got a Brit over here.
So our next step is to deploy on the on Rinkeby.
Yes.
Cool. Oh, do we want to? What do you? How are you thinking about fitting in like a test suite into this?
We can look into it. I can pop open some of those files to see what's up. All right, can you close this?
What's up?
I can see the code. Just the serene focus is very distracting now. I'm just like water, drawn to the pool. Okay.
Isn't it beautiful? All right, I'm back.
All right. Test files. Okay. The only reason I would skip testing for now is it's just a lot of stuff to set up.
Yeah,
But
let's
it's not
deploy
that bad.
to test. To So let's deploy to rank B. So for that, um,
Do you have testnet Ethereum? So let's just show our viewers, our friends here. If you type in rinkb faucet into Google,
cool.
have you done this yet? So wait, let me come back to your screen. So you can see that it says
Hey, do you hear me? Oh, that's not good. I can't hear you. Damn it. My AirPods secretly died on me. Test, test. Can you hear me? Words. Let's see what OBS is saying. OBS is saying that, yeah, stuff is... Caleb, can you hear me now? Test, test, words. Okay, Caleb cannot hear me. So let's just reconnect this. Caleb, can you hear me now? Fuck, okay. Let's see. Okay, that's no longer going through there. Use for sound and output. Caleb, can you hear me now? I'm actually going to recall him.
All right, here's
Yo. Can you hear me?
what is up?
Caleb? No? Fuck.
So I can hear the music in the background. I don't know if...
Test, test, words. Huh, can't hear me, but he could hear the music. That is interesting. Hear me now? I could hear you.
Hello, hello. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
No, I can't.
C, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, N, R, Q, P,
Damn.
T.
Let me, so the music's gonna cut out. Okay, how about now? Okay, yeah, and I could hear you now as well. Yep. But now the music stopped, exactly. I could hear it on mine, but yeah, here. So now what I have to do is configure. Okay. Now everything should work. Can you
Oh,
hear
I
me
can hear it on the live
still?
stream.
Oh fuck. Can you hear me? Maybe? No.
Yes. But now I can hear the music playing. And myself.
Caleb? No. Maybe now? Can you hear me now? All right, so you could hear me again, right? Yeah. So, well, so the tricky thing is that like, for I don't know what happens with my audio here, but I can like maybe it's OBS. Something is causing it so that I could hear the music, but I can't hear you, uh, and you can't hear me. Um, when I'm using the settings I was using before. Let me try one more time. Because like I want to fix this so that way other people can hear you as you're speaking to me. So that's why it's not just the music. All right, let's try this. And if this doesn't work, I'll probably have to restart my computer. Um,
Just let me listen
yeah,
to the
there it
stream.
goes.
Because just wait 30 seconds.
You can't hear me.
Test.
Hey, Andy.
So now I hear me again. Test.
So it's sending that information. All right, so this is ignoring input, which is fine. What we want to do is right, so we're outputting, right, so this is what OBS is using, and this is what I'm using. So my audio, something is messed up with this. Let's see if this does anything for us.
I can hear you. Let me start YouTube and see if it all is working.
Because that's where sound's coming through. I could also
can
try
hear me on
using
YouTube,
this.
and I can hear music on YouTube.
This would also
It sounds
work.
great to me.
I could talk through this, but I think this part.
Can you hear me, Andrew?
I can use this for output. Now I could hear again.
Hello.
So that's the weird thing, is I can't hear Caleb. There's really no good reason for that. Because he hears himself, right, so now you could hear me, I could hear you, right? Can you hear me now? Yeah, yeah, I could hear you. But the music, I'm guess what's that? Yeah, this is me, potato, yeah, whatever. So here's the thing, but right, like now on live, like you can't hear me, right? Uh, Yeah, here's the thing is like I know on my end, it's like when it's working, like I should be able to hear uh you like normally in this conversation. You should be able to hear me and it should appear on stream. And I think now it's just not going to appear on stream. Because I'm looking at the OBS mixer and it's not appearing. Um, I mean, do you hear it? Like maybe the mixer is wrong. Like I think right now you should not be able to hear it. Like you shouldn't hear the music and you shouldn't hear your voice. Like try to yeah. Um, so I guess I should probably just try restarting my computer because otherwise it's like if we just persist like this, then this stream isn't gonna make sense because like I'll just be like sitting here in silence from the perspective of the stream while you're speaking. So it kind of sucks. But I think this is the only way to get the full experience that we're looking for. So I guess I'll just restart. It'll take, 60 seconds and we'll get set up again. Oh yeah, it is kind of food. I am kind of hungry. So yeah, what do you want to like take like a full like step away kind of eat, or do you want to eat at the keyboard? What are you thinking? Okay. You don't want to just like order some food delivery? Oh, huh. Okay. Um, I see. All right. Well, let me end the stream here because also it sounds like I'm just talking to myself. Um, so all right. Well, to be con